Well, I got to add myself to the stream. I was like, wait, I didn't pop up. Well, there's a reason because I did not put myself up there. Hello, everybody. I'm really excited for this month's podcast audits. So if you have never joined us for one of our podcast audits, you're like, what are you even talking about? We are here for the May 2021 podcast audits. This is something we do once a month where we are live in our Facebook group and our YouTube channel, and I share with you my thoughts, ideas, strategies for how our podcasters in this community can either level up their show or go in a different direction with their marketing strategy, or just give feedback where podcasters need feedback. So everyone that I'm going to present here today, we have 3, and we actually have 2 that are left over from last month. Y'all, we had so many that applied in the month of April that I did not get a chance to actually make it happen. And so we have 2 podcasters from the April cohort and a new one for May. So I'm really excited, and we have a lot to cover. So I'm going to dive in. And if anybody has any questions at any time, don't hesitate to reach out. Let me do my little clicking around back here to get ready. So I want to go ahead and tell you that we are doing, like I said, May podcast audits. Oh, let me put May 2021 podcast audits because that's what we're doing here today. And if you are brand new to me, if we've never met, you've never listened to the podcast, but on my YouTube channel, hello and welcome. I am Crystal Profit. I teach entrepreneurs how to start, launch, and market their podcast. And we are obsessed with podcasting around here. It's what we love to talk about. So I hope that you are as nerdy about podcasting as I am, or hopefully one day would want to be more interested in learning about podcasting because it's what we talk about. It's literally the thing that gets me most excited. That and marketing. Like podcast and marketing are pretty close up there. It's what I study. It's all the things. So we are going to get started because like I said, we have 3 audits to do today. So I have some fun little things that I try to do beforehand. So the first one today is Brad. And Brad, I should have messaged you before. Actually, I'm going to message Brad right now so he knows, because I know Brad and I meant to tell him that I was going to be auditing his podcast today, and I just did not get around to it. So I'm going to tell him right now, hey, Brad, we're auditing your podcast in real time. Come on over and hang out with us. Come on over and hang out with us. There we go. It's really funny if Brad was watching and I'm like sending him a message and he's like, whoa, that's like really creeping me out. But I know Brad from being a part of the Buzzsprout larger community. We met in in the Buzzsprout Facebook group. So that's where we first interacted. So I'm excited to do the audit for him today. Make that a little bit smaller so it's not so big. Okay, so the tools that I'm using here today, if you've ever wondered how the podcast audits actually work, I use a Google form, it's super simple process, and I have applicants send their information in, whether it is a strategy, if they like, hey, here's my marketing plan, give me ideas on if, I should launch this way. They can send in an audio file and they can send in their podcast artwork. So these are a few different ways that people can submit things. Today, I believe we have 2 audio files and a piece of artwork that we're going to look at. And it's going to be a lot of fun. I always love doing these. Good morning, Lori. I hope that you're having a fantastic Thursday. If you are watching this on the replay, I hope you're having a great day, whatever day it is for you. Like right now, I'm just glad it's not raining. It's been raining in Texas for the last 3 days, and I'm over it. I'm 100% over it already. I'm ready for rain, go away, come again another day, right? Did y'all sing that as kids? Did you sing that? I know. I love it. So, all right, Brad, we are here, whether you're watching this real time or in the future, we're auditing your podcast. So he has the Queer Writers of Crime podcast. And this was one of the ones that I was not able to get to in the month of April. I was really upset because we didn't have enough time. But I knew that I wanted his to be first and foremost in the month of May. So what is your podcast topic? This is part of everything that, like, whenever someone submits an application, I will ask them, what's your topic? Who's your ideal listener? What's like the number one thing that you would like for me to look at with your podcast? And so I will be reading a lot of their application. And then we're going to go over to my favorite tool, which y'all know. If you've seen these before, you already know what I'm talking about. But yeah, here's Brad's artwork right here. Queer Writers of Crime, which I love the thumbprint. I think it looks really cool. So what is your podcast topic? It's interviewing LGBTQ authors of mystery, suspense, and thriller fiction. So that's what they talk about on the podcast. And his listener description is avid mystery readers, primarily, though not exclusive to LGBTQ individuals. So that is who is typically listening to Brad's podcast. He's already launched. And then in the question, why are you submitting your podcast to be audited? I feel comfortable with my show, but I've never gotten an outsider's perspective who is actively a podcaster. Since we kind of know each other and are comfortable with the format, there will be no hard feelings if you don't add it to the pot. Well, Brad, you're here, man. You're here. I'm excited. So Brad's like, hey, I've been doing this for a while. I feel like we know our audience. We know our topic pretty well. And I just want to get a little bit of feedback. Here is what was really interesting about Brad's podcast. So y'all know, if y'all have watched this before, I love chartable.com. It's my favorite like go-to place to really look up information about other podcasters as well as find information on my own. I have YouTube videos on how I use it. I have it. I like to use it for marketing. I like to use it to look at charts of, where my podcast is going in the charts, but I don't love it for analytics. I know I sound like I contradicted myself. I rely on Buzzsprout, my hosting provider, to give me my monthly, weekly, daily, like all of those analytics of where I really look at my podcast. I rely on Buzzsprout for that. Chartable is just another tool that helps me understand more information about other podcasters, and it's just all in one place. So it has more than if you were to just go to applepodcast.com and look up other podcasts. There's more information on here from Spotify and other charts. And so that's why I really like Chartable. But Brad, I cannot find your podcast on Chartable. I don't know why. I'm going to look it up one more time because I cannot find it. I don't know why that it does not pop up. There are lots of other podcasts that are, that it doesn't pop up, and I get really frustrated. So I was like looking up your name. I was looking up the podcast name, and this is the first time this has ever happened to me. I always am able to find things on Chartable. So it stumped me, but it's not going to keep us from looking at it. So Brad, if you have any idea why it wouldn't be showing up on Chartable, maybe you can let me know. You can send me a little message. But here we go with, I don't know why I'm making it bigger. It's not a video, Crystal. It's not a video. It's the audio file. We always have an issue listening to this because the microphone is picking up my laptop mic. Hang on. My laptop speakers are picking up my pod. You know what I mean? This is trying to listen to that because I don't have the music. Oh, you know what? I wonder if I open this on my phone. No, it's too much. It's too much. We're getting a little complicated. We're not going to do that. So we're going to see. Let me know if y'all can hear this. Oh, see what? And now it's telling me to download it. Why do I have to download it? Usually I can just click it. What's happening? Let's open in Groove Music. Let's open this and see what happens. Y'all can't see that or hear that.
Hello.
Oh, there we go. Hang on. Bear with me. We're going to go full screen. I'm going to take this one off because that doesn't help. Add Bear with me for 1 second. Technical glitches, folks. These happen from time to time, but we'll get it fixed. So, question, in the meantime, do you have to submit your info to Chartable for your stats to show up? If you would like for your stats to show up, then you can submit them, but there's probably shows on Chartable that are just listed in other outlets and they pull your information through that way. Because I know usually whenever I'm telling other podcasters about Chartable, they've never even heard of it, but I can look up their information on there. So it's kind of one of those where it's like collecting information from other places and then they're putting it in one central location for other people to look at it. I see Chartable moving in the direction of trying to connect podcasters and advertisers together in the future. That's like the way that they're going. They're offering like premium plans to, hey, connect with these people here, but it's not something that I'm actively pursuing with Chartable. But no, you don't have to submit your information there for your stats to show up. But you do, however, if you want them to read your information to you, like have a Chartable account, you will have to add the link to your Buzzsprout account. And there's a whole Buzzsprout like episode, YouTube video about how to actually make that happen. So if you look up Chartable on my profile, I believe that's where that video lies. But great question. Okay, so Brad, we got your thing up. We got it. Let me start it over. Here we go.
Hello, Michael.
Hey, Brad. How are you?
I'm doing very well, and I want to give you a big thank you. You were on my second episode of this show back in October of 2019. So I want to thank you very much for helping get this show kicked off.
Well, you've done a great job since. You've had some incredible people on.
I will agree with that. I need to tell you, it's interesting to me, many of the authors that I book, either before I book them or after, will look through old episodes and they come back and they say, wow, I feel honored. You even had Michael Nava on. How does that make you feel?
Well, that's great. I'm glad I could be the cheese in the mousetrap that's your podcast. It's a lot of work for you, though. I admire that, too. Because I've done a podcast. It's a lot of work.
It is. It's a labor of love. My biggest struggle is balancing it with writing and doing the podcast.
Yeah.
The podcast is easier, even though I love writing more. I love doing both. But so it's a tough balance. I really have to challenge myself to get some writing done.
Okay, so first and foremost, I don't know if y'all could tell me if you couldn't hear that. So this is where the issue lies. I need to upload the videos, like download them as audio and upload them beforehand. I know this and I forget it every time. But let me know if y'all could hear that or not. Let me know if it was something that you could listen to. But I love the fact that they open with starting their conversation, right? They're just going to get into it. They're going to get into it and they're just going to immediately start talking about their topic. It sounds very conversational and very informal from the beginning. Now, I didn't listen to the whole 5-minute clip, but from my perspective of listening to a podcast, it's everything that I want a podcast to be. And this is where differences of opinion kind of go like 1,000 different directions, because some people will tell me I can only listen to a podcast if it's really highly produced. And I'm seeing like production studios, right? Like studios that are like producing movies are getting into the audio space. And I feel like they're kind of tainting the world of what we would call amateur podcasting, which is what basically everybody that's here, if you're watching this, we're going to call all of us amateur podcasters. I'm not a professional podcaster. I'll still call myself an amateur podcaster simply because when you put the title of professional, expert, all those things in front of your podcast name, I feel like everyone all of a sudden has this expectation that you can't mess up, you can't have any word flubs, you can't have any dogs barking in the background or children saying, Mom, I want some more Cheez-Its. Like, these are all things that happen to me on a regular basis. So, okay. But it's what I love. It's what I love about podcasting so much. I listen to a lot of shows that are very highly produced. They have the music and they have like sound effects and all these weird things. And I'm like, I don't know. It doesn't work for me as a listener. But Brad, for this, the way that this conversation is starting, I already like how comfortable you are making me feel as an audience member. It sounds like I'm just listening to two friends catching up, and you're going to get into a portion, a topic. Maybe you're going to start talking about one of the novels, or you're going to get into an author that y'all both really like. But just being able to sit back and be a fly on the wall during y'all's conversation is what I look for. It's what I look for in a podcast. So I think this is great. I think this is awesome. I didn't see any other questions you have. So Brad, if you have any other questions, let me know. Again, I love the artwork. I think it's very boldly stated in a way that immediately someone could say, oh, I would want to listen to this podcast, or maybe, this podcast isn't for me. Either way, you want both of those things to happen. Whether someone immediately says, I want to listen, or no, I don't want to listen, you don't want someone in the middle. And I like how boldly stated the letters are, because they're very easy to read. One of my pet peeves is like artwork where I cannot read what's going on if it's really small. And this is a pretty good indication. I can't ever get which way is it going? But this is a really good indication of, hey, this is something that's easy to read. I know immediately what it's about. I know whether it's for me or not for me. So great job. Great job. I have to stop singing. It's really bad. I've been singing a lot lately, and it's not good. It's not good. Okay. It's not good. I cannot sing. I need to stop. Okay. The next one that we have to do today is Danny DeHeck. So where is it? So his podcast is What the Heck. And I love it. Oh, it's too dark. You'll be able to see it. It's right here. So 12 questions. And let me see. I did find Danny's on Chartable. So I was saying, Brad, I don't know what your podcast is misbehaving on Chartable. It did not want to pop up, but we are going to go into Danny's podcast now. It really does. Maybe it's just because I have on my black shirt too, but it like blends into everything that's going on up here. But let me see. So Danny, so the name of your podcast is What the Heck? And the topic is entrepreneurial stuff. I love it. Just entrepreneurial stuff. It's what it is. So the audience listenership description, he is trying to reach small to medium-sized businesses. That is his target demographic that he is trying to reach with this podcast. He has launched it. And then whenever I ask, like, why are you submitting to have your podcast audited? He says, I'm always trying to get better results in the search engines. Okay, this is really good. This is good. So this is probably SEO related, or getting some more of that organic traffic, which we all like. Y'all, paid strategies are fantastic, but if you are not leveraging the power of organic reach and being able to pop up in search engines, then, all the paid traffic in the world isn't going to get you where you could really be if you take advantage of SEO and titling your podcast episodes to really find your ideal audience. So this is great. So we have, let me see, what did Danny submit? So this particular item, Danny, and I don't know if you're here live, tell us in the comments, or if you're watching the replay, let us know afterwards. But I'm looking at this, and what I see is the 12 questions, which is what I uploaded. So that's not actually his artwork. Oh, hang on. I'm sitting here talking about things. Y'all can't see this. You can't see this. There we go. So it says 12 questions. So I have questions about your 12 questions. Is this particular piece of artwork, is this for your episode, like a specific episode? Or is this a different one? Because I have Chartable. Like I said, I have Chartable pulled up. So this says What the Heck right here on Danny DeHeck. I'm going to go full screen so y'all can see this. Let me make it bigger. Okay, hang on. Let me take this off because we don't need this. You are all up in the way. There we go. Actually, let me take this one off too. There we go. All right. So in Chartable, and like I said, this is why I really, really like this. we can see the information that someone would have in their podcast description. Instead of pulling up my phone and then showing it that way or opening up Apple Podcasts, we can see it right here in Chartable. So if you are a current podcaster, I encourage you to go look up your own show in Chartable, because then you can see, well, what do other people see if they look it up here? There's some other ones too. I was on Listen Notes this morning. That's another one. PodTrack, Podchaser. What is the other one? There's another one. Pod something, right? You start typing in pod and all these other like companies and different things start popping up. But this is my favorite one because I've been using it the longest. I'm sure other people have preferences, but I really like this. But it says, I'm just going to read his description. He's a podcaster, connector, educator, adventurer, and street photographer, branding strategist, serial entrepreneur, Danny DeHeck. So his website is dheck.com. I'm that guy who knows everybody, and I put together my website to show what I'm passionate about. I'm a firm believer of omnipresence. The What the Heck podcast episodes range from think tank meetings, interviews, and my weekly show. Let's chat or meet. Okay, so Danny, my first impression in looking at your episode or your podcast description, right? Your whole, like what you would put in your podcast settings is this looks like an Instagram profile or something that you would find on someone's Clubhouse or something like that. So because you're asking about how do I show up more organically, right? Like, let me go back. So I'm always trying to get better results in the search engines. So if that is your main goal, is to show up more organically in the search engines or with SEO, then I would recommend talking about your audience in here and taking out a lot of this. Like all of this right here is not necessarily serving you the way that it would on Instagram or Clubhouse or another place like that, simply because while these are keywords that maybe you want to rank for, it doesn't necessarily help. Like, I can't tell by listening to this, what am I going to get out of this as a listener, right? This looks like, oh, okay, it's Danny is amazing and all the things that he's done, but what am I going to get out of this? Because you say, episodes range from think tank meetings, interviews, and your weekly show. But again, what am I going to get out of this as a listener? Am I going to get inspiration? Am I going to get motivation? Who is your listener, right? Because you tell me in the audit application, your listener is small to medium-sized businesses, but yet I don't see anything like that in your episode description here. And we'll go into the titles of your episode here in a second. But yeah, I don't see anything tied to what you do to business, right? I see branding strategist and serial entrepreneur. And that's really the only thing that kind of tells me like, well, maybe he has a business around what he's doing, but there's not a clear picture of what someone listening to this podcast would get, right? Like I love that you're talking about think tank meetings, interviews, and your weekly show, but what is it that they're going to walk away from your episode having, right? So here's a great example. So for my podcast descriptions and everything that I do on the Profit Podcast, this is my weekly show that I have. I will say, hey, today's episode's perfect. I talked to a social media expert about Instagram. We didn't talk about all social media. We talked about Instagram. So if you're struggling with getting your Instagram strategy in place as a podcaster, you're going to walk away from this episode with a clear next step strategy, right? That's very specific, because if someone's not interested in Instagram, they'll be able to go, oh, I don't care about that. I'm on Twitter, or I'm on LinkedIn. I don't care about Instagram. And that's okay. But I want people that are interested in learning about Instagram to know immediately, I've got to listen to that episode. I actually had some people comment on Instagram about like, oh, this is what I've been waiting for. I can't wait to go dive into this. So you want to have that reaction, whether it's people are in or they're out, you want them to have that as soon as they read your podcast description, because if you can't hook them in from the beginning, then it's even harder to get them to stick around and listen to the other things that you're producing over time. So I hope that helps. We're going to come down here. So New Zealand best podcast. So it sees, I'm assuming that maybe you're in New Zealand, or do you have a presence in New Zealand? Because you do have some reviews here that are in New Zealand. And then one of your recent episodes is SEO optimization techniques. Yeah, this is great. This is really awesome right here because you're talking about SEO optimization. So I know immediately, oh, this is something I'm interested in. I'm going to go listen to that. Or advertising. Okay, this is really good too. I think that Screw the Big Rooms Clubhouse Club. Okay, so this is specifically talking about Clubhouse. So if someone's interested in learning about that, they're going to know right away. So it looks like you're on the right track, right? And I don't know exactly when you launched your podcast. So let me see. So these are recent 2021. So it looks like you launched. So you've been doing this for a while. Let me go to 3. This is what's really cool is about this is that we can go all the way back. So 2019. Okay, so you launched this in 2019, and it looks like you've talked about a few different things along your podcasting journey. And I really like this. I like that, you're on the right track. And I think that if you are trying to target small business owners or small to mid-sized business owners with your podcast, I don't know if you did like a rebrand, because it looks like some of your older content is a little bit different than your newer stuff. But I think that you need to call that out in your episode description, because if you want to start ranking your podcast, if it's on your website or anywhere else, you've got to use those keywords. You've got to put them in there. This podcast is for small to mid-sized business owners. And that's it. Like you can just throw that sentence in there somewhere, because then people will know immediately, oh, this podcast is for me. I need to go listen to this. I want to have a small business, or I have a small business. I should go check this out. So I hope that helps, Danny. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know if y'all have any questions in the chat if you're here with us live, because now we are going to move to... What number is that one? Naomi. Naomi is here. So Planners on Purpose podcast. Now we have her artwork. Oh, I love it. It's so bright. It's so bright. Actually, Danny, I do want to go back to yours real fast, because I did notice this. Your text, this Danny DeHeck, I'm moving my mouse across it like you can see that. But it says your name. It's really hard to read. It is hard to read on, like when it's really small, all I see is like the faint 12 questions. So I would almost like recommend putting something behind your text, or making that text pop by making it brighter, because it's kind of hard to read. So that was another thing that now, and looking at Naomi's and like the contrast, like you can see the contrast between Brad's, like the white text on the black background, it pops. And then Naomi has her yellow and her bright pink shirt. You can see it very clearly. And with yours, it's just kind of hard to have that text pop off the artwork. So it may be a little hard to read. So that would be the only other suggestion that I have with your podcast artwork, is do something to make it pop. Something where people see, oh, what's Danny DeHeck? What the heck? What is this podcast about? Right? Like that's really the reaction that you want. So that's my last little comment there. All right, Naomi, so happy that you applied. This is going to be a lot of fun. So the Planners on Purpose podcast. So her topic is, and let me pull up, I know I have her stuff up over here. Yes, maybe. Oh, I had Chartable open in a different window. I'm like, what is that? Okay. So Planners on Purpose podcast. Her topic is event planning, coaching, and business strategies. Her ideal listener is event planners and anyone that plans event for their businesses. Ooh, okay. So this is really good. This is good. So she's not talking to someone who is trying to plan an event, meaning like a bride or someone who's like wants to throw a birthday party. She's talking to the planners about their businesses. Okay, this is very smart and it's very niche in that it's more specific to the people that are in charge of the event planning. So I like this. I like this, Naomi. So she's launched her podcast. And then why are you submitting your podcast to be audited? To get additional tips for me for being a better podcaster. Also to get a little validation that I'm headed in the right direction. I uploaded only the first 5 minutes of my show. Okay. So we have her stuff up on, hang on one second because I'm going to open this over here. I'm going to bring it over. Y'all can't see that anyway. I don't know why. Why is this not working? I'm hitting play. It's not working anyway. Here's what we gonna do. I'm gonna see if I can upload this audio file as like a little video. Maybe. No, it wants an MP4. Let me see though. Let me see if I can trick it. Can we trick it? Oh, no, it's got to be MP4. Okay. So I'm going to try to play this on my end, and I want to know if y'all can hear it, just like with Brad's. And then we're going to go into the chartable stuff. Oh, there we go. There we go. It's playing. Hang on. Let me bring this up. Full screen. Uh-oh, y'all can't see this anyway. I'm pretending that y'all can see what I'm doing. Y'all can't even see it because I didn't have my screen shared. Okay, so I'm going to turn it all the way up again, and we're going to see. Hopefully y'all can hear this.
Hey, thanks for dropping by to the Planners on Purpose podcast, created by Naomi Tucker, CMP. Now, this space is for the event planners to encourage and empower you so that you can fully live your life on purpose. So before we dig in, please take a moment to subscribe so you get future shows. Now here she comes, your host, Naomi.
Like your music.
Hi everyone, this is Naomi Tucker here, your host at Planners on Purpose podcast.
Okay, first, before we get into more of the audio, I would recommend, and I don't know if it's just my laptop speakers that make it sound a little louder than it is, but my initial reaction in listening to your intro, which I love, by the way, I always like it when someone else is doing the intro. It's like, oh, it's legit. It's official. But I feel like the music is a little loud because it's kind of hard to hear the announcer's voice when he's talking and introducing you. Again, it could just be because I'm listening on my laptop speakers and that's the way that it just sounds really loud. But that would be the first thing. If maybe you could just turn down the volume on the back end if you have like this audio file. I'm imagining like two separate files, right? You have your voice on top and the music on the bottom. If you could just take this one and lower it just slightly, and then when they play, it will be just a little bit quieter. That would be my only recommendation for that. So let's keep going.
I'm really excited to have you here and be talking with you today. We are going to be talking about mental health today, and as many of you probably know, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and it's all about elevating the conversation around mental health. I feel as though there are so many conversations that are left unsaid. There are so many situations and so many people that we support that have not been heard, and it's great to be able to have this space to really uplift these conversations and drive awareness and point to resources within our community. So excited to be able to uncover with you these 3 simple myths about mental health today. But first, I want to know, how are you doing? I hope you're doing really well. It is on the other side of spring here, and very excited because that weather at night that usually is still a little chilly here in Wisconsin, it seems as though it's turning over and starting to be a little bit warmer. So that is exciting because we get to do fun things like fire pits. My family loves to do fire pits and hang outside and have nice evenings hanging with our friends. So
Okay, so I want to get into, and Naomi, I love that the storytelling aspect of your podcast is awesome. I think that it's fantastic. Like it was barely even 2 minutes, right? I don't know how long your intro was, if it was a full 30 seconds, but like a minute and a half into you talking on your podcast, I feel like I know you. I'm like, oh, Naomi, she's in Wisconsin. Oh my gosh, her family loves, going out back for fire pits, and maybe they like, roasting marshmallows or hanging outside. Like, I'm thinking of my own experiences, right? Because this is what we tend to do, is whenever we hear someone else tell a story, we think about, well, how does that relate to me? And I was immediately transported to, like, we do bonfires. Not anymore. I don't do those because I don't live in the country. But when I was growing up in the country, we did bonfires a lot. If somebody would have a big pasture like out and back, and we would, all of their brush that they had been like just loading onto this pile for months and months, all of a sudden it's like, hey, we're gonna set it on fire. And I sound so country now. I said that out loud, but no, that's what it makes me. Like it helps me understand, like you stated, what y'all were going to talk about. You're going to talk about the 3 myths of mental health that you wanted to address. You're bringing up mental health as something that's important to you, and you're acknowledging that it's Mental Health Awareness Month. I really like where this is going. So if you wanted some validation that you're headed in the right direction, I mean, in a minute and a half, I can tell you are. You are. I think that you're doing a great job connecting with your audience and bringing the humanity of your podcast into play. So yes, I have to agree. You are on the right track. And now we are going to go into sharing the chartable information, that I found on your podcast. So Naomi Tucker, and then you have these titles. I'm assuming it has, something to do with what you do with your party planning. I don't know what these letters mean, but I'm assuming that someone who would be a potential listener of yours, they would think that that is important. So I like that. So like, I'm thinking certified master planner. I don't know if that's what it is, but it sounds like a cool title. So I'm giving it to you. You're an honorary certified master planner. If you don't already have that title, I don't know what that means, but I love it. And then you have it down here. So I'm assuming that that is a title that is important to your listener, or maybe it's a title even that your listener is aspiring to have one day. So yeah, this is really cool. So let's go into the Planners on Purpose podcast. Is created for ambitious and driven event planners that are looking to scale their productivity, get valuable time back in their day, and focus on their personal goals and aspirations. Very awesome podcast description. Very, very good. I mean, we're only through the first sentence. We only went through the first sentence of that. I love this so much because you're calling out it's for ambitious and driven event planners. So am I an event planner? Will I one day be an event planner? Is this something that is kind of like in the back of my mind that I think I might want to get into, like event planning eventually? Then this podcast would be for me. So you're calling out who your audience would be, and but it's also serious ones that are looking to scale their productivity, get valuable time back in their day, and focus on their personal goals and aspirations. So, I mean, I feel like a good little, I wish I had like one of those, I need to get some GIFs and like other fun things that I can put up on my video. That would be like confetti, because this is really good. This is really good. I like this. So if you want to stress less to live more, Naomi will take you on a journey of self-discovery. She will help you to uncover your hidden strengths as a leader, Become more productive so you can live the life you desire while balancing your commitments. This is really good. And I believe that you have probably done some work to get these real like buzzwords, keywords that you have in here, because I feel like it's very strategic the way that you wrote this out. She will help you uncover your hidden strengths as a leader, because you know you're trying to target those people that are serious about event planning and they want to lead. Maybe they want to lead in their business, in their community, maybe even in their industry, because I know as event planners, I mean, there's so many. There's corporate events, there's bridal parties, there's special events like anniversaries and like all kinds of things like that. So I can imagine that you have really done your homework on knowing that the people that you want to target see themselves as leaders. So uncover your hidden strengths as a leader, become more productive so you can live the life you desire while balancing your commitments. Yeah. And I can imagine people that are event planners feel overwhelmed or feel like they got to do all the things. Oh my gosh. I was taken back to planning my own wedding and all the things that were in, thank goodness for event planners. Thank goodness, because I would have not been able to do all of that by myself, or even with the help of my mom and all the other people that helped us plan our wedding. Okay, so we have your ratings and reviews here, and then we have the 3 myths you should know about mental health. So this is really good, but my question is, are you tying back mental health into event planning, right? Because we didn't listen to the whole episode that you have, but I'm going to click in here to go into the kind of the nuts and bolts of the episode description for this. See, and this is the Chartable for Brands thing. Can y'all see that? It's the one that keeps on popping up. So they're doing a bunch of things on the back end to change whatever they're doing with Chartable. But okay, so the conversation around mental health should be elevated and discussed. In this episode, you have the 3 myths you should know about mental health and what to do with them. Understanding these bring important conversations forward. So I think that this is a really good conversation for you to bring forth on your podcast, because it's something that obviously you're very, I guess, what's the word? I don't know if it's passionate about it, if you're passionate about mental health, or like you're an advocate for other people who, maybe need more light brought to mental health. So I like this, but I would want to know is, in this description, does it tie back to the main purpose of your podcast, right? Like if you, like in this description, if you could put something like, if you understand mental health, or how seeking mental health as an event planner, or as someone who has a lot of priorities, or someone who is trying to be more productive, then really understanding how it applies back to the overarching thing of your podcast would be something I would want to see in the description. Now, that as a caveat to that, I know your listeners, they don't care. They probably don't. Your listeners are loving the content that you're putting out because you are the one doing it. Maybe they're like, oh my gosh, like I know that Naomi is super passionate about helping us and she's giving us resources to help us with our mental health. Like this is even better. But as someone who is just stumbling upon your podcast and one of your most recent episodes, I would ask the question, well, how does this tie back into the main theme? How does this tie back into being an event planner or hoping to one day become an event planner? Like going back to who you said you were targeting, event planners, coaches, and business strategies. Like these are the things that you're doing. Event planners and anyone that wants to plan events for their business. So that would be my question. And it's also one of those you're like, Crystal, this was just something that was important to me. I wanted to put it out there. That's fantastic. But this is just my initial question as your coach, right? Like as your coach and looking at this is, how does this all tie back into your overarching theme? And that's something that I would encourage everybody to think about, that if you're going to go off the beaten path, because I mean, you've heard me talk about things on my podcast that don't necessarily have direct correlations to podcasting, like on the surface, but I tie them together. You've got to anchor everything that you talk about on your show back to your main theme. Okay, like I know if I had an opportunity, let's see, I'm trying to think of someone. Podcasting is kind of one of those subjects. Like if I was to talk about, I was thinking like Brene Brown. I love Brene Brown as an author, and the different things that she teaches is really amazing. And I've learned a lot of really cool things from her. But on the surface, that doesn't really relate back to podcasting. But it does, because she has podcasts now. Do you see what I'm saying? Like everybody has a podcast now. So it's like, oh, okay, I could tie those, two things back together. But I would recommend whatever topics you cover on your podcast to have them tie back into your main theme, even if it's on a very small level, like very, very granular, like people could probably almost miss it and like not even hear that piece of it, but still enjoy the content. Tie it back to that main theme. Always, always, always. How does it tie back? How does it tie back? And I know you probably explained it in the actual episode, but adding some of those words to the description would have me like further understand as a brand new listener, as someone who's just stumbling upon your podcast. I can see, oh, she's talking about this because this is a theme. She talks about, things that she's passionate about, but she ties it all back into event planning. So that would be my suggestions, my recommendations. Hi, Mike. So happy that you're here. These are always so great. Thanks for putting these out there so we can all learn from them. Yes, yes. Hi, Laura. So happy that y'all are here. Yeah, these are always so much fun. We do them once a month. And I mean, it's just, I wish that I could do these all day, every day, because it's a lot of fun for me to see what y'all are doing as podcasters in this community, what you're creating. And it's a lot of fun. It's always fun. I mean, I wish that I could, I really do wish that this is all I like had to do, is just sit around and do podcast audits all the time, because I love seeing what y'all are creating, but also answering your questions on how you could get better, in the sense of how can I take what is already an awesome foundation for a podcast and take it to the next level where I can get in front of more people, I can reach more people, I can have my message be, sent out and distributed to more people. So hi, Melissa. Happy that you're here. Yeah, we're wrapping up the May audits. And if y'all are just not joining us, make sure you go back and watch. We did 3 audits today. Last month, I think we did 5. So each month, every single month, we will have these free podcast audits for our community here. It's just one way for me to say thank you so much for hanging out with us, learning from us here. And I just really appreciate this community, because y'all ask the best questions. And honestly, y'all are the inspiration for so much of my content. So much of my content comes from interactions in our Facebook group, questions I get on YouTube, emails that I get from this community. I'll see reviews. We did our big review giveaway in April, and I learned so much from this community, from the back and forth conversations I had with people that won and people that, wanted to go further on the journey with me and learn from me in a different way. So it was really great. So yeah, Melissa, how do you get on the list? So if you want to, the applications for this month are already closed, but if you want to get on, let me see, I think I already have it up here. I have all these different banners in the background that have where to get it, but it's crystalprofit.com/podcast audit. Here it is. So so they're closed for now, but let me look. I will look on the calendar. And the ones for June are going to be, that was one of the ones I had a question about, because June is going to be the month that all 3 of my kids, all 3, I have 3 boys. Let me see. Oh, I don't even want to talk about it. I have a middle schooler. Oh, he starts middle school in the fall. But I'll have a middle schooler, a 4th grader, and a kindergartner, okay? They're all 3 going to be home with me this summer. So I'm still working out the details of our summer schedule, but they will most likely be the same as what we're doing right now, but it could be slightly earlier. I don't want it to be too early, because I know we have some Pacific coasters, they're like on that Pacific Standard Time, which is 2 hours ahead of me, and I already do them at 10:30, which is 8:30 their time. And I know that we have people that are international and they're in the UK, and I know I believe Mike's in Ireland. So it's like, I want to make sure that we kind of balance the right time of day. So I'm looking at my calendar and I'm thinking it's going to be June 10th, which will be the next one. So go ahead and put it. We did late ones in May because we had something else kind of come into play where we were working on another promotion and I had to push it back. But we will do these once a month. You have my word. Once a month, we will do these. But I think it's going to be June 10th. So that's kind of the tentative date. You can go ahead and apply. Just know that we won't open up the applications, like the ones that we're going to choose, until we get closer to the date. But yeah, we would love to have you apply. And like I said, I typically do between 2 to 5 podcast audits, or like podcasts that I'll choose to be audited. And they're always so much fun. I mean, we've had event planners, we have Bible teachers, we have, what was it? It was Brad's for the LGBTQ community that are, it's authors and writers of crime and thriller and all the, like, I mean, Brad he's really fun. He's a good friend of mine. And now I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I want to go I'm going to ask him all the questions about his podcast because I want to know where he came up with the thumbprint for the artwork. I thought it was really cool. Actually, I think I still have it here. I'm just like, how in the world, like who thought of this? It's so good, right? It's so, so good. And then we have event planners and we have Danny who's trying to help small business owners. And so we always have a lot of fun doing these different types of audits each month. And so I love to see the different podcasters we have in this community. I love serving you in this way because it's, like I said, it's just a lot of fun for me. Yeah. So go apply there. crystalprofit.com/podcast audits. Oh, Naomi's in the house. Yes. You'll have to go back and listen to everything that we just talked about if you missed it live. Okay. Here's some real talk. Okay. Behind the scenes, I'm really bad about telling people that we're chosen. I'm like, I just kind of spring on like, hey, by the way, I'm auditing your podcast. And I need to get better at that. I need to like go back into my systems, my standard operating procedures and put in there, oh, you need to email the winners that were chosen so they know to come to these live because it would be a lot more productive if they got their questions answered in real time. So I apologize for that, Naomi. If you want to apply again for the next time and like actually ask questions in real time and make it happen, we can do that. But if you're watching the replay and you have any questions, put them in the comments and I will absolutely go back and read those. But yeah, it's a work in progress, right? Like we have only been doing these since January of 2021 and they've already been a hit. Like Mike said, these are always so great. I love watching these. Yeah, these are so much fun. And I really, really appreciate everybody that chimes in, gives their input, everybody that submits their podcast to be audited because it's a lot of fun. Yeah, it's all good. I'm totally excited, wanting to do this for a while. Yeah, I'm glad that you showed up. And we were actually talking about, there's Naomi. There she is. Go listen to her podcast if you're interested in event planning. But I love your artwork and how much it stands, like it pops. It really pops. I love all the color. I don't know if all of these are your brand colors and it's where, you put these colors out everywhere, but I really like them because they are very they pop. They pop really well. So great job with your artwork. And then the last thing I wanted to talk to y'all about today is, how did I get this off? Here we go. Yeah. So that's where you go. Podcast audits, go check it out. The last thing I wanted to talk to y'all about is if y'all have any questions, put them in the comments. If y'all want to know, we can do a little Q&A for about 5 more minutes. So let me know if y'all have any podcast questions. But if y'all want to know more about how you can work with me, please do not be shy. Do not be afraid because I have a lot of different resources and ways that we could work together to get your podcast off the ground if that's what you're trying to do. If you're trying to take it from this idea, I actually saw this comment today and I was like, oh my gosh, that is just, it's the exact description that I hear from so many podcasters. And it was, I bought a bunch of resources, I've signed up for courses, and I'm no further along than I was 6 months ago. And I just cringe and I'm like, oh no, like what happened? And I know in the last 12 to 18 months at this point, like everything has been crazy. It's been so insane the last 2020, like I was talking to someone yesterday. No, it was earlier today. I can't even remember. But I mean, in 2020, it's the blur year. I don't know if that's what people are calling it, but I keep saying, oh, that happened last year. No, it didn't. It happened in 2019. But I'm just totally blocking out 2020 because we had so much on our plate. And a lot of people still have so much on their plate. So I get it. If you have not gotten your podcast up and running because of things that were happening in the world, I totally understand. But I also don't want it to be something that holds you back over the next 6 months. So if you've been wanting to get your podcast up and running, then I encourage you, please reach out. Let me know how I can help. If we need to get you into profit podcasting, this is my digital course. I can give you more information about that. I have a ultimate launch toolkit that will give you the tools to plan out exactly how you should launch your podcast. I have my book. I have Start a Binge-Worthy Podcast. Like there's so many tools and resources that I can offer to you. But if you don't ask, I can't tell you. I can't tell you. So I absolutely want you to not be shy. Reach out if you are stuck. If you have questions, please reach out. If you're watching this on the replay, put your comments below. Put your comments below this video. If it's on Facebook or YouTube, I go back and I answer all my comments. I try to do this, y'all. Like it's one of those things, like a pet peeve of mine. If I know that there's a comment out there I have not answered, it keeps me up at night. So I want to be super helpful to this community, but we are here. We are right at an hour of doing these podcast audits. So make sure and reach out if y'all have any questions. And I'm just excited to see what everybody's creating in this community. Like I said, it's so much fun to watch everything. But that's all I have for y'all today. So remember, keep it up. We all have to start somewhere. Bye, y'all.